Oh, you're recording. That's right. Sugarfoot. Okay. Well, and you're recording. Oh my God. Now what do I do? All right. So you're gonna
What do you need from me?
yeah, that's a great question. What I really need is something that's too much to ask. So you're gonna send me the recording, right?
You're recording this. Your Zoom is recording it, if that's what you mean.
How do you know that?
Because when
Oh,
I came into the meeting, it said it's recording.
oh shit. All right. So good. All right. We'll just go then. Because the editor can cut out the front end. So,
Yeah.
hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Mark Isaac Putter Presents. We're visiting today with Dovid. Let me see if I get his name right. Dovid Azerad. You can correct me if it's wrong, Dovid.
Yep, it's great. Yeah.
How are you? How are you today? And
Amazing.
who are you and all that? I have to admit I'm kind of flying blind today. So as far as I remember, you sell ice cream in Philadelphia. Is that it?
Well, I used to. Now I went over to Texas.
All right, Doug.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Give me the interview, man. I'm starting the
Yeah,
clock
sure.
on you.
So I help high achievers to continue on their life's mission and to take their next steps, which means that you know how if you're a high achiever, and I'm sure you are,
I was
that
going to say it leaves me out totally.
yeah, that you're always pushing the envelope for yourself. You're always really
Yeah,
trying to get to the
yeah,
next, yeah, you're always really
right.
trying to get to the next level, next arc, next step, and you like hanging out at the edge of your comfort zone. And sometimes you might take one or two steps a little too far, and it's a little bit challenging to find your way back to your comfort zone. And of course, as a high achiever, you don't want to go backwards. So
Right.
I help you to get your comfort zone, raise the floor, let's call it, in order to serve as a springboard to get to your next level, to the next level, to keep
Okay.
going, to keep driving.
All right. That sounds good. So, uh, tell us a little bit. I'm pretty informal in these things because I
Mhm.
believe that the viewer watches more if it's a little bit gritty.
Sure.
So we purposely do it that way. So having said that, uh, I usually have a standard set of questions I ask. I'm going to ask some of those at least. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your education, and what brought you to be in the business you're in. Like, was there a moment in your life where something happened? You know, your sister won the lottery or something, and it may help you make that decision, that defining decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So I grew up in New York, in Queens, New York, and
Okay.
fairly typical, I would say. I mean, what's typical anyway, but fairly typical childhood. Went to school, went to Jewish Orthodox day school, and
Cool.
I continued on in my studies and in my learning, and I went through elementary school into high school, went for a year in Israel, um, took some college, dropped out of college, went into private school as a teacher, as an assistant, worked my way up into a teacher, into an assistant principal, into principal, and I was running a day school for a couple of years. And while that was happening, I was connecting and engaging with the community members as well as with
Okay.
the students, with the staff members, with the faculty. And
Now, what
what
level of school was this you were assistant teaching in?
so I started off in K through 8 throughout. I started off in first grade, went to second grade, went to fifth grade, sixth grade,
Etc.
eighth
Okay.
grade. I basically ran the gamut of grades. And
Musical chairs grades.
I'm sorry,
Musical chairs grades.
musical chairs of grades. Yeah, yeah. We used to play music before the year started, so I knew where to sit.
You plus you do stand up in New York apparently too. So, oh
So I yeah,
God
so I
help
became
us.
an assistant principal, and as part of my assistant principalship, I was overseeing discipline for a school of 125 boys, and
Okay.
that was exciting. And then I went to another school and I was the principal and I oversaw most of the operations,
All right.
including the community engagement and development. And
All
as part
right.
of that, I would talk to people and I would also work on the operations of the school. So there was a lot of opportunity for me to provide advice and to give assistance to people, whether they were adults or children. And
Okay.
whoever I would work with would really, really leave the conversations and the times that I would talk to them feeling very empowered to really take ownership over what they were doing and to
Okay.
take next steps into growing as a human being and in their role in society and whatever they were doing.
Very
So
nice.
when I would
Very
speak with
nice.
yeah, so when I would speak with adults, um, a lot of times it would end up revolving around, what they were working on with their business or how they were relating to their, life in general. And after the conversations, they would say things like, "Oh my gosh, you should totally be a coach." And I would
Huh.
respond, "Nah, I'm busy. I have my hands full with whatever I'm working on right now."
How long ago
And
would you say that was?
3, 4 years ago,
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
And I would have these conversations. I would help a lot of people out, and it was very fulfilling. And at a certain point, I took on one or two people to really help them in a more formal sense, and
Okay.
that really led me to a certain realization within myself that there is a lot of impact to be had in many, many different ways. And if I'm able to help adults that are producing already and they're high performers and they're really doing a lot to make an
Right.
impact on
Right.
the world, and I help those people to make a bigger impact, then that would be a tremendous leverage point for me to make a tremendous impact for my own fulfillment and for everyone else. So I decided at the end of the last school year to really go into this full time. So I've been doing this for about 5 months full time,
Okay.
completely full time, and it's been amazing. I've met incredible people. I've connected with people, collaborated with people, helped people expand their mindset, expand their business, really find structure and order in what they're doing, get empowered, break the cycles and the feedback loops that they're in that are halting and holding them back from performing at the high level that they want to be and that they know they can be because they've done that before. And it's been a really great journey so far.
Okay. Very cool. So you would say 5 months you've been doing this?
Full time, yeah,
Okay.
four or
Well,
five months.
that's
Don't quote me.
that's very important and very special because I want to be an inspiration
Mm-hmm.
myself and my show. I want it to be an inspiration for people who are not yet starting a business but are thinking of doing it, and for people who have just in their first year and kind of, well, I wouldn't say floundering, but just getting their feet wet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really glad you're here.
Yeah, sure.
You're a wonderful human being. I don't care what those people in Pennsylvania have been saying about you.
Well, there's a reason I went to Texas.
Oh, you live in Texas now?
No, no. Just
You're yanking
following
my
along.
chain more than I'm doing yours. Gee whiz, guy. So, what is a typical day? And your company is called Next Arc, I take it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
What is a typical day at Next Arc with you? Do you have people that you work with?
Mm-hmm.
Do
So,
you work? What is a typical day like?
yeah, great question. Every day is different, and I am currently on the break out of startup to growth, let's call it, where I've set up a lot of my infrastructure already. But at the same time, there's a lot of infrastructure that still needs to be done. So I take a lot of time um, to, for example, what I mean by infrastructure, to create my website, to build my branding online, to get people in my circle of influence, in my sphere.
Okay.
And that takes a lot of time and effort and energy and a lot of intentional behavior. And
Okay.
on the other hand, there's also just expanding my network of human beings because, as we know, human beings are what make the world go round. So,
Human
uh,
beings are part of the sauce.
yeah, just a small part of it, exactly.
Oh my
And
God.
and just setting up
We're fun.
meetings.
We're gonna have to do a whole bunch of shows, not just one. Seriously, I did. I had a lady on yesterday from Hawaii.
Wow.
She's been a realtor for 20 years. She looks like she's 14, but anyway. And I talked her into 3 shows yesterday.
That's
Yeah,
incredible.
because I'm an addict, man. I'm telling you. I work about 17, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I love it. I wouldn't do anything else. And lately I've
Awesome.
been sicker than a dog. I've 9 weeks of something that mimics long COVID. So
That's terrible.
yeah. So tell us give us a sense of what I mean, I know what you've said so far. You take
Mhm.
people who are already kind of, leaders and energized on their own and high performers. You take them and help them boost up even higher, which is a very cool thing to be doing. And there's probably a big market for that. And I think the people who are in that market probably have the money to pay a reasonably good, whatever remuneration, we'll say.
Mhm.
So tell us more about it. I mean, there's a lot of people doing what you're doing, like let's say Tony Robbins and I'll pick out a name from the 1970s before you were born, Werner Erhard.
Mhm.
Probably never heard of him. Have you heard of Landmark?
Yes.
Yeah, he started Landmark before it was Landmark. Anyway,
So
give us more about it because there's a lot of people in that space, and what differentiates you from all those other very high talented people who are helping high talented people become even more high talented.
it's a great question. And I guess we have to understand something fundamental about, the human existence is that there's nothing new, right? All the information that is available to people is already out there. Anybody can get information from especially now with the internet, and you can search things. Everything's on YouTube, on Wikipedia, on
Right, right.
different forums and articles that are written, and you can Google things and it all comes up. And nowadays, even strategy, you can come up with strategy by just going into some chat GPT or some
Yeah, yeah.
other uh, perplexity
Perplexity,
exactly,
Claude.
and they
Yeah,
will tell you exactly a step-by-step process to do something that you may not have known how to do. You basically get a free PhD. And
yeah.
it's not about what information people are giving, it's about the perspective and the experience of the person that's giving over that information because everyone is unique and everyone will connect and have a rapport with somebody else. So Tony
Okay, now
Robbins,
wait, stop. So
sure.
I hear what you just said. I've been doing this 23 years, okay? I heard what you said. It's very general.
Hmm.
So if I had you repeat it, which I won't embarrass you to do, uh, it give it to me in a more concrete. I know you're probably not a poet, but tell me about the strawberry squishing in your hand and I mean, when Tony Robbins gets somebody in his office, he comes around the desk, he sits on the desk, he gets close to their face. He does a very particular. We know when we talk to Tony Robbins, we know what we're getting.
Hmm.
Are you give us that little sharp edge to your approach? Don't give us any proprietary secrets, but give us that sharp edge to your approach that makes me as a leader, because we want the customers to buy your product, right? We want the
We
viewers to
want customers
call
to get
you up and
value.
buy your product, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We want people to get value. And if it makes sense
Well,
for
and
them
we
to
want
work
them
with
to
me,
make a
then yes.
buying decision. So what are they buying? What kind of propulsion into a higher level of achievement are you going to be giving them? How are you going to do it? You know, how are you going to do it? How's it going to get them from level 9 to level 11 or level 9 to 11, level 100? How are you doing it? Not why, but you can say why too, but how are you doing it? What's their experience going to be like being propelled through that time warp of achievement?
It's a great question. Just for clarity, I was setting up that answer, and but that's okay.
Last week, and then
we
the
we
dog
have to give
died
a
and we just
framework.
threw it in the
Everything
trash.
comes in
Yeah.
frameworks, and that's really actually part of what I'm about to say. So the the idea is that when someone's a high performer, there could be many reasons for why they're doing that. Um, a lot of times they're very, very driven by a very operational and logical part that's within themselves, that they're really driven for a reason to achieve something. And
Okay.
that a lot of times will not necessarily align with what their true internal vision is, which is their grand aspirational vision. Because when someone gets stuck inside their logical part of what they're driving towards, it blocks out what their real capabilities and power and value really is, because it's like, well, I can't really do that because of XYZ. So instead, I'm going to be focused on something. So what I offer is helping people to integrate those two parts of themselves, the
Very
logical
nice. Now we're cooking with salt.
and the
I'm from
logical
Ohio, so I'm used to outhouses and kerosene lamps.
they're
Very
logical
now we're getting there, dog. Good.
and driven part of themselves with their uh let's call it their wondrous empowered energy
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
have,
Not
and
their
using
shit. Yeah.
a framework that I offer in order to disrupt whatever patterns that they built in order to continue on the path that they're on, and use
Okay.
disruptors to encourage the integration of that other part, that energetic, valuable part, their energy that they're bringing to the world.
Okay, good. So please know for all the future shows, and I want to be on record here as saying that David has agreed to do 47 shows over the next 12 months. So that's
Mm-hmm.
very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And we're
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to that. That means we got to do 4 shows a month. So,
Mm-hmm.
he's cooking with salt here. He's not laughing, though. Yeah, smile. We got to
Well, it's a
smile.
big
That's good.
commitment, you know.
Hey, I do this with all. Go back and look at some of the other shows, man. I yank people around all over the place. So we're almost out of. Well, we're not almost out of time, but we're getting down there. I want to bring in one of my favorite parts of this achievement thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite parts, which is people who have disabilities. Now there
Mm-hmm.
are some high achievers in the world, and there's a poster somewhere of all of them, Einstein and some famous actors and all kinds of very famous people. Seriously, a lot of very famous people have been people with disabilities. I'm one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
I've got mental illness, which I'm very public about. 5 pieces to the diagnosis. I'm a rape survivor. I've got a heart condition. I've got arthritis. I've got something that mimics long COVID. And yet I seem to get through every day. I accomplish something. I wouldn't say my company is all that successful, frankly, but I've been in television for 23 years and I've done about 400 shows,
Mm-hmm.
most of which were volunteer for nonprofits. So that
Okay.
is a form of success. Plus, I've done like 500 speeches and public speeches and all this stuff. So, how do you work? I have like 200 questions about your interaction with high achieving disabled people. how do you interact differently or the same or both with high achieving people with disabilities? Like, yeah, let's start
Hmm.
there at least.
Yeah, sure. It's a great question because, I mean, people with disabilities are a lot of times not recognized, whether their disability is recognizable or not.
Not news to me, by the way. Not news. That's
Yeah,
not new news.
yeah, certainly. So uh, I I would say that sometimes I wouldn't even know if the person, let's call it, has a disability just because a lot of times it comes off, as brilliant. The person might just
Well, and it's
seem
not an amputated leg or
right, exactly. And
yeah.
when I speak to people, when I work with people, the main objective is to tap into what drives them. So whether the person is disabled or not, it's irrelevant to the mission of what we're offering and what we do. If the person has a drive to create, has a drive to be something big, to create, make an impact on the world, then that's what we're working with. So if the person is disabled, fantastic. If they're willing to put in the self work and put in the self and achieve self awareness and self empowerment, then we do that. And I work with each person individually. It's not, there is a framework, but it's not, I'm going to take a framework and dump it on you and say, yeah, this is the way that I do it. So that's why you need to do it this way. It's here's the framework. There are ways to integrate, and we're going to go through the many, many different avenues to find the way that works for you. And when we find the way that
Okay.
works for
All
you,
right.
then you'll achieve that. And you'll
All
feel
right.
empowered, you'll feel
That's
fantastic, and you'll achieve high performance, elite
that's a pretty
performance.
decent answer because number one, I like it when I get treated like everybody else on some level, but there's always those things where something needs to be changed up a little bit to fit my existence or my way of learning or my abilities, that kind of thing. Like this whole Zoom thing has been a boom for me because, now that I'm 73, I don't go out as much and I don't travel as much and I don't have a car. And so doing these meetings makes it a lot easier for me to keep achieving what I want to achieve
Hmm.
because I've been in television ever since reel to reel. I grew up with Abraham Lincoln's father, and you probably was born yesterday, as far as I can
Yeah,
tell.
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So,
I've heard of Abraham Lincoln from way, way, way back. So that's yeah.
oh God help us! All right, We're a little short, but I'm gonna leave it short in part because I supposedly have another show coming up in 45 minutes. I think
Hmm.
I have a very high cancellation rate, so I think this guy's going to cancel, but I won't say his name just in case he keeps the show. But uh, and pronounce your first name for me again, please.
It's David.
David. David.
Yeah.
I gotta find a word that rhymes with. Oh yeah, it rhymes with elevator. That's right. Okay.
That's an
Uh,
easy way to remember it. Yeah.
yeah. um, I would seriously like to do a series of shows with you over the next 6 months, 8 months. And so far I'm just saying I'm not suggesting anything about money, even though we do. I have a long speech about money that I'll tell you someday. But
All right.
would you please consider doing a few more shows for us and kind of enlighten us on this technique?
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to do something. And in fact, what I would offer is we can schedule another one, and then we can maybe do not a mock session, but a real session, and you can be the client, and we can see how it looks in real life and in real time if you're willing. It might be a little
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Well, yeah, that's okay. I've been in therapy all my life, so I'm kind of used to being. But we can do it as a show, right?
Yeah, sure.
I would like to do it that way. And I just you're the second person that I've interviewed in the last, let's say, 14 months and I have a good feeling for what I'm going to say. I've been around a lot of these kind of people. And I'll give you an example someday soon. You're one of those people that I think is going to be very well known in the future.
Well,
And
thank you.
I've been around people like, have you ever heard of Adi Ashanti?
It's not necessarily, no. It's
Okay,
not ringing a bell.
he's a world leader in the spiritual space.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I got to know each other before he started, or right when he started that thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I've had the privilege in this lifetime to be kind of the number two for some of these kind of people, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
very rewarding thing to do. And I had a gal on the other day, being about 2 or 3 months ago, who I got the same vibe, and she's now got a job. It's a it has an interesting way of being. She gets paid, but she has a job with American Dream, which is a national TV network, as a host in their on their Cleveland show. And I could see that coming before it was there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I brought up people like Werner and Tony Robbins and all stuff because I can see that in you. So
Well, thank you. I appreciate
I'm
that.
nearly
Tony Robbins
always.
is a pretty popular guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Landmark is pretty big too
Mm-hmm.
internationally.
Yeah.
Um, so I can see that in you, and it's a privilege to be here at the beginning, like I usually am, with
Mm-hmm.
someone who's like that. So when you get famous, just buy me an ice cream or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
my.
mean,
I love this sound. You would. I'm very unorthodox. Most people wouldn't want that sound on their recording, but
right. I would say that you would have to get to Texas for my ice cream because I moved there since I was in Philly.
I got to be careful with you. You're messing with me more than I'm messing with you. Oh, God help us all. All right, folks, that's been the show. We love David. I hope it, I got to find a word. Dov. What
It's
goes with
elevator. That's the one. That's the
yeah, I
right.
know, but I got to find a real one. Mauve. The word
Yeah,
mauve has
sure.
the same first syllable. So,
Mm-hmm. I would say another word, but I don't want to trigger you right now. COVID.
yeah, but that would have to be COVID.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right, so folks, you guys know I love you because I say it after every show. We've been visiting with David, who is totally wonderful, and we're going to do some more shows with him. So we'll see you next time, folks. Please take care.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.